Okay, a $1 trillion valuation, a completely frantic behind-the-scenes scramble for infrastructure, and what is shaping up to be a historic IPO. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right in to unpack Anthropic's honestly unprecedented path to market. Let's start with the sheer scale of this. Analysts are right now projecting a staggering $1 trillion IPO valuation for Anthropic coming up this October. And listen, I know we throw around big numbers a lot in tech, but 1 trillion with a T is just massive. And it isn't empty hype either. It is backed up by the fact that they are currently the revenue leader in AI, on track to hit an incredible $47 billion in annualized revenue this year alone. Now, that valuation isn't just about the revenue. A huge part of it comes down to pure, perfect timing. With OpenAI officially pushing their public listing all the way back to 2027, Anthropic is basically staring down a completely uncontested runway to go public this fall. They are aggressively targeting this unopposed US AI IPO window for October 2026, which gives them a massive structural advantage over the competition. So moving on to our first major theme today, Section 1, the engine's fuel and securing the compute infrastructure. To actually fuel that kind of record-breaking growth, Anthropic can't just rely on standard cloud setups. They are assembling what is essentially a massive infrastructure coalition. We're talking about a confirmed $30 billion deal for SpaceX's Colossus One coming online in May 2026. They've also got their existing, albeit undisclosed, setups running with Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud. But maybe the most interesting part? They are currently in preliminary talks to lease $10 billion in computing power directly from Meta over a 2-year period. And you really have to understand the clever workaround happening here. That proposed Meta deal, it's not just about getting raw computing power. It acts as a highly strategic bypass right around the current NVIDIA chip shortages that have basically been choking the entire industry. Since those specific constraints are currently holding back Anthropic's most advanced models, utilizing this alternative cloud computing capacity from Meta provides them with an absolutely crucial lifeline to keep scaling. Let's shift gears to Section 2, Consumer Impact. We're breaking down model scarcity and what these product shifts actually mean for you. Because behind the scenes, Anthropic is still really trying to calibrate Fable 5's massive appetite for compute. And that has real-world consequences for everyday users. Actually, the free promotional window for Fable 5 permanently ends today. So what does that mean for your workflow? Well, if you're on a Max or Team Premium plan, you'll still hold on to a 50% weekly access rate. But if you are on the Pro or Team Standard plans, you are shifting strictly over to metered usage credits. They are, however, issuing a one-time $100 credit to help smooth over that transition. Honestly, it's a classic balancing act. On one side, you have this super aggressive enterprise demand. Things like deep adoption of Claude Code are exactly what's driving that massive $47 billion revenue number we talked about. But on the flip side, that enterprise integration is literally eating up the exact compute needed for regular consumers. So Anthropic is essentially forced to strictly limit everyday access to their newest models. The enterprise side is just winning the compute tug-of-war right now. And we are seeing this compute bottleneck play out most vividly with the highly anticipated Mythos 5 model. Access to it has been locked incredibly tight since July 1st. Right now, it is restricted to a super small pool of just about 200 vetted Project Glasswing partners who are working on critical infrastructure across 15 different countries. Plus, with the Black Hat USA conference literally just 2 weeks away, their 90-day progress report remains totally unpublished. And honestly, we still have absolutely zero confirmed timeline for when this model will hit general availability. All right, Section 3, the cultural stakes. Let's look at the effective altruism windfall. So beyond the hardware and the consumer software, there is a fascinating human element tied to this massive financial windfall. A number of Anthropic's founders and senior employees have very deep ties to the effective altruism movement. And as New York Magazine's Intelligencer pointed out recently, a successful IPO, especially one at or above that $1 trillion mark, would produce the absolute largest concentration of EA-affiliated wealth since the SBF era. Which brings up a completely objective yet culturally significant question for the broader tech ecosystem. Industry analysts are watching this incredibly closely to see if this impending IPO marks a real structural shift in how the effective altruism movement interacts with mainstream tech in a post-FTX world. Basically, the industry is asking if the movement's credibility has stabilized enough to suddenly deploy this kind of massive new capital, specifically through a company whose public identity is so heavily built on AI safety. It is a huge turning point. So we are left with one multi-billion, or I guess multi-trillion-dollar question as October approaches. Can Anthropic actually secure the massive compute fuel it needs to satisfy this surging user demand and justify a trillion-dollar valuation? Or will these persistent infrastructure limits ultimately throttle their flight just as they're taking off? It's something to definitely keep thinking about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.